Hello and welcome to the Majestic Devlog, where I'm building a casual, story-based exploration game. So for this new level, I am actually reproducing one of the levels from my first game, The Companion. So per the story, this level features one of the main population centers for the game, and it's where the main characters come from, as we find out in The Companion. So I did feel it was necessary to return here, and it gives me an opportunity to answer some of the pressing questions that were raised in The Companion. So let's get right into it, and I'll show you what I've been up to and the process in getting there. So here's how the level looks in The Companion. So I wanted to take this landmass and reproduce it in the Majestic. To do that, the first thing was I went to the landscape height map and exported it. And that was a simple click of the button. And when I import it into Unreal Engine 5 using the new world partition tools and landscape tools, it comes in precisely as it looked in The Companion. And then after importing it, I apply a landscape material. So this is a good starting point, and now it's time to tweak the colors and set up some foliage. So one of the first areas I focused on was some sky color and changing the color of the clouds, because that really drastically changes the mood of the entire level. Now here I'm importing some tree meshes. These come from Quixel Megascans, and I'm replacing the textures with something that suits my visual style. It's not the highly detailed foliage look, but it is a highly detailed mesh. And then I move on to some grass colors and just quickly adjusting the grass, which is again going to change the vibe of the level pretty drastically. And I'm trying to hone in on the colors from The Companion. So recently at GDC, Unreal Engine put on a show, and in one of their videos, they showed how they tackled grass and trees in Fortnite. So by using their learnings and following what they outlined, I am trying to make my grass just as performant but as dense and lush as they have. And one of the key things is having each blade modeled instead of having a mask, which is precisely the type of grass I'm using. Now with the grass set to where I want it, I am setting up procedural spawning volumes for the trees. This is a procedural foliage spawner. I'm going to throw a few tree models in here. I'm going to just spawn them into the world and see how it looks. And in this case, the colors are a little too wide-ranging, and everything's right now a little too dense for this type of tree. They're overlapping each other quite a bit. I'm just fooling with the settings, changing the colors, and trying to get everything spawning in a pattern that looks desirable. And this takes a lot of fiddling around and a lot of tweaking. One thing is I'm using a legacy procedural spawning system. Another new system in the future Unreal Engine 5.2 version, they have a new procedural spawning system, which I intend to take advantage of in the future. But at the moment, I am still using the old legacy version of the procedural spawning system. And because it's been working quite well and I know how to use it, but I do see a lot of power with the new tools. I also spawn in some ground flowers and boulders to see how they look scattered between the trees. Then when things start looking pleasant, I toggle the sun position, and then I play with the cloud colors some more, and I'm really just trying to hone in on the vibe for the level here. I like the nighttime to be light enough where the player will not be struggling to see. It is important to make sure there is enough light at nighttime. with the sky and ground looking decent, now I need to replace the ugly looking water. So for this, in the companion, I use the Unreal Engine water system. There is a really nice ocean material that comes with the water system that I like to use. And I do like to make sure it's this like baby blue Caribbean Sea style ocean. The water has a lot of tears, so I'm eliminating that by adjusting the waves a bit. And by changing the color absorption of the material for the ocean, I can hone in on this seafoam green sea that I'm aiming for. And then I'm throwing some more trees down using the previously set up foliage spawner just to get an idea how it's going to look with the water in the background. And then we move on to more landmass. So here is a general idea of how I sculpt my terrains. All my terrains are hand sculpted. I am using an alpha brush. I typically use the alpha brushes provided in the Brushify assets. And here I'm speeding through, sculpting out an island off the coast of the main island. Paint on some of the grass, and then put a little coast, sandy coast around it. Throw in the procedural spawning volume for the trees, and there we go. We have a small island. So actually the main island is supposed to be a peninsula. In this game, I want to create more landmass that gives it that peninsula looking shape. Then I throw in distant mountain meshes to really give it a sense of it, that it's in a world. And here we're just throwing islands and way in the distance. And now it looks more like it's in a world. Then we're going to paint the coast around the land. And at some point, this will be a nice whiter looking sandy beach, just like in the companion. And then after I'm done with that, I throw in with a noise texture some dry grass areas all around, just to break up the monotony a little bit. Then I also throw in a little more sand in the middle of the terrain where I intend to have some more barren, sandy areas. Now at this point, I'm flying through the level, getting a sense of the scope, how long it takes to traverse, and just a feel of the size of it. So at this point, things are looking pretty well, and I want to focus on the main town, which I expect is going to be a huge task. You can see there's a giant rocky cliff serving as a backdrop. So I just grouped together some of the example meshes to create clusters of buildings. And then I'm throwing them around in a haphazard way, getting a feel for how I want things to be placed. But this is more of a visual test, and I'm going to be redoing how all this is laid out to make it a lot more sensible. At this point, the town is about 30,000 static mesh actors, and to fill the entire space that I intend to at this rate, there would be 50,000 or more static mesh actors, which I think would be quite heavy on performance. Even with nanite, I think this many actors in such a confined area would be problematic. And so I will have to combine meshes together to reduce the number of actors. Also, due to the day-night cycle, I want the windows to light up at nighttime, but I don't want them all to light up. I want it to be more randomized and have an element of realism. I thought one of the best ways to do this might be to set it up in a blueprint, because then I can save what I do without having to keep it in a level somewhere. So I started setting up a blueprint with a bunch of static mesh components attached to each other, and it's been working quite well, but I think I'm at so many static mesh actors that it's slowing down quite a bit. But I basically have, I think there's like 12 buildings. Under the sidewalk, I put some piers so that the landmass, the landscape, doesn't need to be perfectly flat, and there's some give on what I can do with the landmass. So after setting all that up, and it's close to 400 static mesh components that I had set up in this blueprint, and they merged together fairly quickly, and the result is a rather clean single static mesh, but it does have 19 material slots. Something should be done about that. There is a way to reduce that down to only a few material slots by using a second UV set. And then I just take a new blueprint and throw in the single static mesh, and it's performing much quicker than having it all in 400 separate mesh components. When I throw it into the level, it goes under the world too far, so here I'm adjusting it to about the sidewalk level, and now when I throw this actor into the world or hit the end key, it falls down until the sidewalk hits the ground. That's about as far as I've got so far with the buildings and the town. I do intend to create a couple more variations of clusters of buildings that I could combine together to create my town. But that's where we're at right now, and that's how this level looks and is coming along. So that's going to be it for this one. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.